From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Diane Parker. Miller has our weekend forecast, plus the latest on the scare at Malmstrom Air Force Base. But first, our top story. We begin with a shocker in the race for one of Montana's U.S. Senate seats. Republican Representative Matt Rosendale dropping out of the race, clearing the path for newcomer Tim Sheehy to face off against Democrat incumbent Jon Tester. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has the latest.
The race for Montana's U.S. Senate seat got a big shakeup again Thursday afternoon, as Congressman Matt Rosendale confirmed he was ending his run for the Republican nomination, avoiding what had been shaping up as a heated primary battle. The news was initially reported in Politico. Rosendale's campaign staff confirmed, sharing a statement with MTN. In it, Rosendale cited the uphill challenge after former President Donald Trump endorsed Gallatin County businessman Tim Sheehy. Rosendale had hinted at running for Senate for weeks. He officially filed his candidacy last Friday at the state capitol, telling supporters he was ready to take on the Republican establishment he said had tried to keep him out of the race. Senator Steve Daines and other GOP leaders got behind Sheehy early, saying he was a stronger candidate to go against Democratic Senator Jon Tester. Trump announced his endorsement of Sheehy hours after Rosendale entered the race. In his statement, Rosendale said, quote, "By my calculations, with Trump endorsing my opponent and the lack of resources, the hill was just too steep. I spoke with Senator Daines earlier this week, and we both agree that this is the best path forward for Republicans to regain the majority in the U.S. Senate." Sheehy responded to Rosendale on social media, saying, quote, "Matt, Montana is grateful for your service and for showing Washington, D.C. what it means to hold the line on reckless spending. I know working together will win this race and defeat Jon Tester." Daines, who is chairing the national campaign for Senate Republicans, said in a social media post, "I appreciate Matt's many years of service to Montana. It will take all Republicans working together to defeat Jon Tester in November." Montana Democrats had described a hard-fought primary as a nightmare for Republicans. On Thursday, the party released a statement turning its attention to Sheehy, calling him, quote, "an out-of-state tech millionaire completely out of touch with Montana's way of life." The next question will be what happens with the Eastern District U.S. House seat that Rosendale currently holds. His campaign says he hasn't decided whether to run for another term yet, and his statement said he'll return to Montana with his family and prayerfully consider what is next. At least 8 Republicans had already expressed interest in running for the seat if it was left open. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Yesterday, Malmstrom Air Force Base exclaimed there was a real-world active shooter. The base was conducting site training, which added to the confusion, but officials say no one was hurt. In fact, they say no shots were ever fired. MTN's Tom Wiley takes a closer look at what happened.
Well, traffic is back to normal at Malmstrom Air Force Base after a 2-hour lockdown due to a real-world active shooter alert. And after hearing from officials, we can confirm that no one was injured and no shots were fired, but unfortunately details are unclear about what exactly triggered the lockdown. At 10:29 a.m., Malmstrom Air Force Base entered lockdown status due to reports of an active shooter on base. Several law enforcement agencies responded, including the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, the Great Falls Police Department, U.S. Marshals, and the FBI. Several local schools on the east and south side of town were instructed to shelter in place. Shortly after officers arrived on scene, Base Command locked down the entrances to Malmstrom, leading to communication issues among agencies.
So this created several issues for us during this. We had people on the inside and we had some people on the outside, so it made communications and things very, very difficult.
Then at 12:39 p.m., Malmstrom lifted the lockdown and said the response was due to a suspicious person on base that had been reported as an active shooter, but there was no threat to the public. Coincidentally, Malmstrom had a scheduled active shooter drill on Thursday.
Was that they were conducting a training exercise, an active shooter training exercise, and that active shooter training exercise turned into a real crime. That's how that event evolves.
In a statement to media, Malmstrom said an investigation is still ongoing and additional details will be released as they become available. But it's clear there are jurisdictional issues between Malmstrom and local agencies that make responding to on-base incidents difficult.
The Sheriff's Office, through the state of Montana, does have criminal jurisdiction on that property.
So it is imperative that we're able to respond, because if we can't, It creates massive issues in investigations, massive issues of communication, and can lead to deputy safety issues and community safety issues.
We'll keep you updated on air and online as we learn more about the incident. Tom Wiley, MTN News.
Bozeman City Manager Jeff Milich has offered to resign on the condition he be paid full severance. At a special meeting February 12th, Bozeman City Commission asked him to resign following a controversial leaked video. They told him to respond by February 14th. In his response, he agreed to resign as long as he received that full severance, which under his contract would mean 12 months of salary or $257,000 plus, with 18% of that put into a retirement fund. A press release from the city states at this time the City Commission is not inclined to accept resignation with full severance. We currently anticipate an ethics complaint being presented for consideration at the March 5th City Commission meeting. New details on the shooting death of Sheridan, Wyoming Police Sergeant Nevada Krinke. Officials say the officer was serving a warrant to William Lowry, who had been squatting at a home for months. Lowry shot him, then broke into a home blocks away, barricading himself for 30 hours. That home belonging to Caro Hamilton, who lives there with her elderly mother. The Hamiltons didn't know Lowry, but were able to escape after he entered the house. During the 30-hour standoff, the home was destroyed. The Sheridan community is now doing its part to help them rebuild at no cost. The Sheridan community also gathering donations and meals for the family of Sergeant Krinke, who leaves behind a wife and daughter. Many bringing tokens of appreciation to the police department, set aside for Nevada's wife, who is a corporal with Sheridan Police. Sergeant Krinke is the first Sheridan police officer to be killed in the line of duty in the department's history. The Cascade County Sheriff is now offering a reward for information that leads to the arrest and prosecution in a 2-year-old homicide case. It was February 14th, 2022, when deputies were called to U.S. Highway 89, several miles east of Great Falls, the former location of the original Bar S restaurant, for a deceased man. Now, that man was identified as 40-year-old Michael Lee Allen Evans. The crime lab ruled his death a homicide. Now, 2 years later, the sheriff's office is offering a $10,000 reward for information.
Mike's family misses him dearly, and they would like to put this horrible chapter of their life to rest. And Mike Evans and his family deserve justice.
Sheriff Slaughter says detectives have identified persons of interest in this case, saying they are individuals in our community. Anyone with information is urged to come forward. And that's a look at some of the day's top stories.
Happy Friday, everybody. TGIF boom coming out of that winter storm, so conditions are improving as we get into the weekend. Our local forecast coming up, but first, what's going on across the U.S. today. From the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic, accumulating snow spreading across through tonight. Western Gulf, we're seeing some rain, and much of the central and southern U.S. Chilly air sweeping across the region, those regions this weekend. For us, it's still going to be very cold today. Along the High Line this morning, we woke up with temperatures, actual temperatures well below zero, but we'll start to warm up as we head into the weekend. High pressure is coming in to dry conditions out. We'll see some sunshine out there, and next week could some areas get into the 50s. We'll take a look coming up.